Let's take a look at Module 17. We're going to learn about securing and sharing Windows resources. We don't have, let's see, the specific labs might be next week because this week we're kind of finishing up on some of the networking part, which absolutely aligns with this. To secure and share resources, we have to understand about networks. All right, so we're going to look at how to secure it using Windows tools, share and secure folders, and we're probably not going to do a lot working with Active Directory. We have an entire class for that called Windows Server, or it's going to be called System Administration. Here's one of the places that we know that things can be secured. You can have your BIOS, UEFI, secured by a password so that no one can get into it. Okay, that can be used. That's used in organizations where they don't want people changing the settings in the computer. So, securing Windows accounts, create strong passwords. Is this a strong password? Well, does it meet the, yep, it's 16 characters. You usually want to have upper and lowercase symbols, numbers, letters, symbols, numbers, and use at least one symbol. Don't use consecutive letters, numbers, your sign-in names, words in any language. Well, these are words in any language. The new thinking is the longer the password is, the better. And one good way to do that is to do a random words. There it is, random word generator. So I've been using this for a while and it works pretty good. I got this from Allie at the library, Learning Center. So I just do 3 words. I generate there. So is this random? Yeah, feature devote term means nothing to me. It means nothing about me. It's totally random. It is words in the language though. But with security, it's always a compromise between being secure and being convenient so you can remember the darn thing. So feature devote term, well, with lowercase, that's not a great password. Let's put in some of the other complexity factors. Well, we put in a capital D. That makes a difference. How many characters do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 16 is the recommended minimum anymore. They're not so concerned, the experts aren't so concerned with complexity as they are with length. So let's add a number in here. We'll just put the number. It's not recommended that you put things between the words, but I can tell you I have a harder time remembering the number if I put it in the word. And we'll just finish off with a @ symbol. Is an @ symbol a valid password character? Yes. So that's a pretty good password. Feature devote one term @ You can memorize that fairly quickly. So let's go to how secure is my password? There it is. How secure is my password is a safe site. Oh, security.org hosts it now. They do security and the password processing. The password is not passed to them. It's not shared. Well, it's not shared by anybody. So there's my password. It says it's going to take about 500 quadrillion years to crack your password. Well, this is a good place to check and see, is it a good password or not? Let's check the throwaway password that we use every day. Well, it says it'll take 7 months to crack your password. Maybe not. Let's try another password security tester. Passwords. I know there's another one I've used before. Security tester. How secure is my password? Oh yeah, Password Monster, I think is one I've used. So we put in our password. It says to avoid dictionary. This one says it's going to take 2 years to crack my password. But this one is kind of funny. Yeah, see, it's actually a decent password, but it tells you a little more characters, lowercase, uppercase numbers. It says avoid the use of these and avoid using any personal information. Well, this is a little different than the other one. There are different ways of hacking passwords. Brute force would take a lot longer. There's also what are called rainbow tables and dictionary attacks and things like that. So there's various interpretations of what's a good password. I go with longer and less complex so that you can remember it. My current password is very weak. Okay, now we're up to 26 years. Okay, so various password places have various answers. All right, but this is better than having the same password anywhere, which, by the way, is one of those things that's recommended. Don't use the same password on your school account, your bank account, and everything else. Have different passwords. Have them unique in some way. All right, so the other way that we're securing things now is with other types of authentication. This can be called multi-factor authentication. WNCC just implemented that, where we have a little app on our phone, plus we have to know our username and password. That's called multi-factor authentication. So Windows Hello, you can sign in with a PIN, fingerprint, iris, or face. I've not done any of these yet. I have used the fingerprint sensor on my laptop, which seems to work fairly regularly. If my finger's a little dry, it doesn't quite work. If it's wet, it doesn't work. It has to be just right for it to recognize it. So there are other password options, and many computers and phones have a fingerprint reader. My current phone fingerprint reader is kind of in a weird place, and I always have a hard time getting my finger on it right. All right, so how else can we secure our accounts? Well, there's something called the Group Policy Manager. What does this have to do with securing accounts? We use group policies in Windows servers and workstations to set up how long to basically force people into this is how long the password is going to be. This is how often you have to change it. You know, changing your passwords, you should just like changing your toothbrush should be changed on a regular basis of some sort. The longer your password is, the common thinking is not to change the password as much, but to make sure it's longer. So there's different types of encryption. This data can be encrypted at rest, which means that it's stored someplace in a more or less permanent basis. Data in transit would be like my recording I'm doing right now through Zoom. That's data in transit is being encrypted between me and Zoom. Data while it's being processed, which is I've not seen very often, that means that the data in your memory is encrypted. So Windows has a built-in encrypting file system. I've not used it very much. It only works on Windows. That's not to say it's not a bad thing, but I'm just not that familiar with it. This I do use. I BitLocker my USB drives that I take to the college. So if someone has to know my password, if I drop my USB drive or something, they have to know my password to get in. And you can't unencrypt it. It's very hard to reverse BitLocker. You can BitLocker computers. In fact, many computers now are BitLockered by default, meaning the entire drive is encrypted. Now, my entire USB drive is encrypted. What happens if I lose my password? Or the BitLocker encryption process corrupts. I'm out of luck. What do? Well, I would go to my backup. Always have a backup. No matter what you're doing, always back up and have extra copies of your stuff. You won't realize how important backups are until you're like, oh dear, I don't have a backup and all these assignments are due tomorrow. That sort of thing. So, when you BitLocker a computer, there's a piece on the motherboard board called the Trusted Platform Module. It's been in computer system boards for I don't know how long, 5 to 7 years or something. So it holds the BitLocker encryption key. That means that I have to steal your whole computer. I can't just take your hard drive and plug it into my computer and open it up. So if I get a hold of your hard drive, I can't do anything with it. It used to be when I was repairing computers that I could get people's information off their hard drives by taking it out of the computer that didn't work, plugging it into mine, and I could get the files. Well, if it's BitLockered, that doesn't work anymore. So you can also, startup key can be stored on a USB drive. You have to have computer and user authentication. Okay, in my case, with my USB drive, I just need a password. There's two types of accounts, and we'll look at this as we go more through this in the following weeks. Administrator account has power and control to do everything. The standard account is just your normal account that you use to run programs with. So when I'm first logging into any computer, any phone, any device, most of them are set up the same way. even though my account on here is a local administrator account, right now I'm not running at the local administrative level. On your Windows computer, and we've done this, we've set up various accounts. If I do something that requires administrative access, sorry, I got kind of wandered there. If you do something on a computer that requires administrative access, you'll get a little pop-up box that says, oh, are you sure you want to make these changes to your computer? That means that it's temporarily going to put you into administrative access. And then once you're done, you drop back to user access. A user doesn't have that choice. Oh, I thought that would show. So you can on purpose run programs. I thought that would show up like that. I guess if they're pinned, they don't show. Oh, there we are. You can run programs on purpose using the right click and run as administrator. Sometimes you have to run a program as administrator to get something done. Or to fix a computer. Do you have to ever run calculator as administrator? No. In fact, it doesn't even have the option because there'd be no point. But system things like Explorer, install and uninstall programs, things like that, you may need your username and password. What are we securing on a computer? Well, each of these folders, each file has a security label on it, might be a good way to say it. If you right click on any folder or file on your computer, you're going to go to security, and this says who can do what. Well, we're not going to look at that. There's different, this is called role-based access, meaning based on the role that you have when you log into the system, you have certain access to the system. Well, the system in this case is, and I'm in a folder that's weird, I should probably go to a folder that's not weird, because that's a system folder. Let's go to users, and there I am. There's my users. So I can look at my documents folder. Let's look at my documents folder and see what I've got. Security, well, see the system. What does system mean? It has full control. Well, that's the operating system. The operating system needs full control to do its work of being an operating system, backing things up, making things happen. This is my specific user because I'm an administrator and this is my folder. I have full control of everything. Well, if I was just a user, I'd still have full control of everything in my profile, but I wouldn't have the ability to do full control anywhere else. Because I'm also in the administrators group, anywhere the administrators group is applied to the access list, I have full control also, but only when it says, oh, are you sure you want to do this? Then I'm temporarily up at administrator level and then drop back when I'm done. It's more secure than in the old days where you could, when you logged in as administrator, you were an administrator 24/7. So it's more secure. One of the reasons why they did that with the operating system changes is that malware, it's a lot easier to write malware for someone to use and get into your system if they have administrative access. It's more complex to write software that can get into your system if you're only targeting user access. And we've done this part already. We'll do it again. We looked at users and creating users and that sort of thing. What type of networks are there? There's workgroup network sharing. That's what you have at home. There is no server controlling access to things. Everybody is in charge of their own stuff. So in a business like the college or in D1, I have a central server controlling access and saying who can do what. So that's called domain controlling or client-server network. Well, it's not always called a client-server network. It's a managed business network, might be a way to say it. But all security is managed from a single point. And these two things, yeah, this is if you're in a work group, that's fine. If you're sharing things out for people to use on a work group or anywhere else, it's good to create a folder that's not in any of these and assign permissions to that folder and its subfolders, and that's what we'll do. I think it's next week we have that lab. So this week is learning about it, thinking about it. Oh, here we go. One of my favorite topics, because it's good to understand this. So, this is about the different types of security and sharing. So I'm going to do just what it said there. I'm going to create a new folder on this little computer called Data. And then I'm going to share it out so that someone over the network can get to it and look at the permissions. So right now, nobody from the network can get to it. You can do what's called simple network sharing, which you just click share. Of course, we're big IT people. Let's learn all the ins and outs. Advanced sharing. Well, you still can share the folder. The difference between that and this is you have a lot more control. So let's see what kind of permissions we have if we share out that folder. We can read anything in that folder. So if I'm on another computer, I can read that information. I can't save it, I can't delete it, I can't work on it. If what you want is read access for other people to look at it, perfecto. I want to be able to work on these files from another computer. So I go ahead and click OK, and go ahead and click OK. Now it's shared out, right? Oh my gosh, I never changed the name of this computer. Just a second. So I'm going to access this computer from another spot. However, this is a stupid computer name automatically assigned by the OS, and I think I had to redo this computer for some reason, so I'm going to rename it. I'll be back in a second. Well, I don't need to be back in a second. Let's show you how to do that. You may have forgotten. Right-click on your Start button, go to System, and it's right up here. Rename this PC. Dumb name. Hard to remember. We'll call it Windows 11. Much easier to remember. Now, when you rename it, it is going to require you to restart, which will take a moment or so. Be right back. I'm back, and my computer has a better name, which means this network path is much nicer to remember. So this gives me read and write access from another computer on the network. If I go to security, I can see that authenticated users, which just means someone who's authenticated on this virtual machine, which is a standalone machine, can do something. They can't take full control, but that's fine. They can modify things. Well, the only authenticated users on this system are me, my user account. System always needs access. Administrators always need access. This is for any other users on this system. Well, there are no other users on this system, right? So access is controlled by a username and password. That means that if I go to, well, let's just see if it works from the local machine first, // Windows 11 /data. Well, look at there. From my computer, I can get to my computer over the network. Well, maybe not as useful as it could be, but from another computer, my local computer I'm making this recording from, if I go up here and type in the same thing, / Windows 11, provided it's connected by bridged adapter to my network, there it is, /data, I should come up and it should ask me for a username and password, all things being equal. Oh, look at there. So what would I enter? User, password 01. Ta-da! There I am. There's my Windows 11 virtual machine. Over the network, you cannot tell this is physical, this is physical, this is virtual, because over the network, everything is equal. Now I can save things on here. I can go to new. Whoops, that kind of faded out, didn't it? Let's bring that back up here. I can right-click, go to File. I don't have Word on it, but I'm going to go down and make a text document, and I'll just say hello. I can open it up. I can type into it. I can save it. So saving things to here is no different than saving things to a USB drive, but it is on another computer. That's one way to centralize files and things on a local network. You can set it up the same way too for yourself at home. So that's a little preview of some of the stuff we're going to be working with. Let's move on and finish this up. We've already looked at, sharing permissions. I kind of did the best way to do it kind of a thing there. Map a network drive. Oh, yeah, let's map a network drive. There's my folder. Once I find the folder, I can, oh, you can't see it. Just a second. It's way down at the bottom. Let's see here. There, move it there. Whoops. It's still not going to work. Let's move this down. There we go. If I right click on that folder over the network, I do have a command that's off the screen, of course, called Map Network Drive. There we go. Right click on that, Map Network Drive. Do you want to have to type in / Windows 11 / data each time you want to get to it? Or do you want to have it automatically at W? Well, I can connect. My credentials to log into this local computer are different than what's on this computer. So I want to log in using different credentials. Credentials. So I'll use the credentials from that other computer. Password 01. Remember my credentials. Click OK. Ta-da! Look at there. I have my C drive. I have a D drive for holding videos and stuff. There's my USB drive. Ooh, there's my Windows 11. This is my server. I have my own server at home. So now I can get to this very easily. The same, you can't see that. The same file is there. It's just in an easier to get to location. So in a business, it's very common to have map drives to access information very conveniently. And I do the same thing at home. I want to work on my WNCC stuff. There it is on my server. And then when I leave, I synchronize that folder to my folder on my USB drive. So I always have everything I need wherever I go. All right, so that's the simple mapping of drives. We'll do that later on. We're not going to dive too much into this stuff. Active Directory, we're really not going to do much with that in this class, as we have a whole class for that. This class is primarily going to be looking at local usernames, passwords, sharing out, that sort of thing. We have an entire class for all this stuff, so I'm not going to go through that. We do have some labs, I think they are next week, where we do very similar things to what I just did. And it's something you can experiment on. Believe me, understanding networks, understanding security is very important. So in this lab, we looked at how do we secure a computer? Well, one of the ways is to have a good password. Another way is to have more than one authentication type. It's like when I go to my bank, I can't just log in. I have to, I think it texts me. Depends on where you go. Sometimes you have to have a multi-factor app. Sometimes it'll text you a one-time code that's good for a minute. So good passwords are a really good way to secure all your personal information. Don't use the same password. Change the password every so often. If you even think there's a hint of a breach of your passwords, change them all. It's a pain in the butt, but it's a lot better than having your personal identity stolen, which is like having your life stolen. It's never happened to me, but it could happen to anybody.